Hey everyone, welcome back to Upside Down Data. Today I want to talk a little bit about Chainlink and where our models think we might be going. So with Link, anyone who's been following the Link market is very well aware that we have been in this sideways range for a very long time. In fact, here I've just measured it from the first day that we had dropped into this range all the way back in May of 22 through to today as I record this on the 15th of May 23. And currently it's at 371 days of sideways price action, over a year stuck in this range. What I've seen on Twitter and Reddit and elsewhere is a lot of frustration with Link. People saying, when is it ever going to do anything? People kind of losing hope. People actually just kind of capitulating, kind of this time-based capitulation, just getting so bored of it, thinking that it's not worth holding anymore, time to move elsewhere. So the first thing I wanted to talk about with Link is it even the correct response to be so negative on it based on this range? And then where might our models think it could be heading? So I want to flip over to a slightly different chart here. So here I'm going to, I just made this into the line. So basically took it off of candles into the line of the daily closes of price of Link. And the reason for that is I wanted to compare it to some other altcoins. So again, there's been a lot of frustration, a lot of bearishness because of this sideways chop. But one of the things I think is important to note is that if you compare Link to the performance of some other altcoins, or actually a lot of other altcoins, it starts to look a lot more favorable. So not to pick on any particular altcoins in particular, just chose some kind of different ones, different random altcoins. So first I'm just showing you here Algo. Again, not trying to pick on specifically Algo, just kind of pointing out a difference in price action. You'll notice with Algo here being represented in this orange line that it ultimately set in a new low over here in December relative to the low that it had put in back here in June of 22. And of course, with Link, it put in its lows back here in May and June of 2022. So this wick down here in May and this wick down here in June are the local lows so far for Link. You'll notice that Algo actually went and set in new lows at the December, whereas Link didn't. If we look over here in December, Link did not go in and set new lows there. It held the lows that it set in before. And so on a relative basis, what this means is that Link actually held up better through this portion of the bear market than an altcoin like Algorand or an altcoin like Polkadot. That's what I'm showing you here, DOT, which again had this big crash going into May and June, but then went and set in a new low in December. Whereas again, Link held the lows from May and June when it came to December. And so when we're looking at this then, would you rather be in a position where Link held the lows and went sideways, or would you rather be in a position where Link took out the lows from May and June and set in new lows in December? I think most people would prefer that Link held the lows in December. And really what I'm getting at here is that sideways action might look bearish, it might look boring, but in the context of a market where a lot of other altcoins are setting in new lows at this point in December, it actually can be seen as a sign of strength. It actually is a sign of outperformance of Link through that time relative to those other altcoins. So even though Link has been underperforming an asset like Bitcoin here, for example, through this more recent kind of move up, Link has actually been outperforming a number of altcoins throughout this period, such as DOT or Algo. Now, that doesn't mean it's been outperforming all altcoins. So you'll notice here, Atom set in its low in June of 22 and then has actually didn't even get down to those lows in December. So I'm not trying to say here that Link has been performing every single altcoin, but it's been outperforming a lot of them. But that kind of gets hidden when all you're doing is just looking at the chart of Link itself. When you look at the chart of Link itself, it's just easy to just look at it and say, oh, it's dead. It's never going to go anywhere again. It's just stuck in this range forever. But that is not really the case when you take the broader perspective and realize that Link has actually been outperforming a lot of altcoins by staying in this range. That staying in this range has actually been a sign of relative strength against a lot of the market. And it's easy to miss that if you're just looking at the price of Link. So that's the first point I wanted to make, that I've been seeing a lot of frustration about the sideways chop, But I think an equally valid way of viewing Link's price action is actually that it's been outperforming a lot of the rest of the altcoin market by staying in this range. So that's an important thing that I think I just wanted to mention that as another way of interpreting this that I haven't seen a lot of people talking about. Okay, so now let's flip over to talking about where Link might be going. Because again, it still remains the case that we're stuck in this range. So is there any sign of hope for positive price movement for Link? Let's talk about that. So obviously the first thing we're going to want to see is Bitcoin resume a bullish uptrend. Now obviously that hasn't really worked out super well for Link so far with this uptrend, but it still is the case, like it or not, that generally speaking for altcoins to be able to run, Bitcoin needs to have shown some strength already with it. Bitcoin being kind of the arbiter of where the market goes, kind of oftentimes being the thing that moves first in one direction or the other. So you'd like Bitcoin to be generally bullish to be more optimistic of Link going to the upside. That is generally speaking what you're going to be looking for altcoins. I don't expect this time to be different. I think for Link to be able to break out of this range to the upside, we'll probably need to have seen Bitcoin show some more strength to the upside. So that's kind of my first base case there. But now let's flip over to some of the models that we have and see what they think might be going on for Link. So first thing I want to show you is the forecast model that I have built. So this is a model that is projecting 6 months into the future, and it's giving you the probability that price will be above where it is today 6 months in the future. That's what this y-axis is. This is the probability, the likelihood that price will be higher than it is right now 6 months in the future. And so we look at this, you can see this model did a fantastic job with Link throughout this entire bull market from 2019 all the way through to 2021. It was bullish. Really, ever since this point here, it got kind of very bullish in the sideways chop down, but still bullish, then hyper bullish through here. But then importantly, after we set in the all-time high, then you see it very much pivoted to the other direction, saying that the probability of upside was getting quite low. And in fact, through this point here, in the run-up into late 2021, it was giving Link only about a 10% chance of upside 6 months in the future from there. And of course, we know it absolutely nailed it. We had this massive drawdown in Link's price, and now it's been going sideways. But you'll notice that through this sideways chop, the model has been growing more and more bullish. And now, in fact, it's all the way up at around 84% chance that it's giving the price of Link to be above where it is right now 6 months in the future. So starting to look a lot more like this than, something like this. So again, a lot can happen in 6 months. So this doesn't mean that Link is just going to immediately go sailing off to the upside. What it does suggest is that the outlook has changed. That instead of a bearish outlook being the base case and something that makes sense, and indeed that's what we ended up seeing based off of that, then instead now a bullish base case makes more sense, something more like we were seeing over here. And so 84% is not a 100% chance, obviously, but you'd much rather be at 84% chance of upside in 6 months than at 10% like we were back here. And so from this model's perspective, being bullish on Link makes sense here. And this model is one that I think is really powerful because it gives us that information that I think people really want, but don't tend to have any way of actually estimating. And that is putting an exact probability on the likelihood that price will be up or down some amount of time in the future, in this case 6 months. And you're not going to find a model like this elsewhere. We are the only place in the crypto sphere that has a model that can provide you with this information, which in my opinion is quite useful for crypto investing, especially medium to long-term crypto investing. So not financial advice, you should make of this data as you will, but I wanted to show this model because I think it gives really powerful information and can really cut through the noise of what's going on and give us an objective outlook of what we might expect going forward for an asset, in this case, Link. Okay, so let's switch over to another model that we have, and this is our short-term risk model, our short-term upside downside potential indicator. So this is on our website, the website we launched in collaboration with Jay over at Daily Crypto Analysis. Recommend checking out his channel if you haven't already. Link is in the description, and a link to our website is also in the description as well. And so the reason why I want to talk about this, being a risk model, if you're not familiar, higher levels on this indicator, the blue line here, mean higher risk, lower levels mean lower risk. And of course, the white line here is the Link price over time. And what you'll notice on the short-term UDPI is that as price has been stuck in a range, so has Link's short-term UDPI. You can see that it kind of goes and bottoms out at somewhere around -3, more or less, or a little bit below, and going up to somewhere between around -1 and all the way up to around 0. So it's been kind of the range we've been stuck in. You'll notice these kind of common resistance points you'll see, and these common support ranges that you'll see. And so if we're looking at Link on the short-term time horizon, so this is a indicator that's reactive to moves that play out over days to weeks, so much shorter in its time horizon. You can see that we're getting down to similar levels that we found bottoms, local bottoms in this range as well. So you can see this all the way back through here. These kind of lower points down here, similar levels to where we are right now, and they have tended to act as signs of local bottoms. And so based on that, if we zoom in, I would not be surprised if $6.34, that closed back here on the 11th of May, it would not surprise me if that acts as a local low, or at least somewhere around that. And if we get a bounce back to the upside, may or may not get us all the way back up to the top of the range through here, but at least a notable bounce like we've seen some of these times in the past. Obviously, nothing's guaranteed. We certainly could fall a bit further before we find a bounce, but just basically using the base case that we're in the range, we're probably going to continue to act like we've acted in that range before. I think it'd be totally plausible in the coming days to weeks to catch a bounce from here and move back up. May or may not be the thing that breaks us out to the upside, but if that happens in conjunction with Bitcoin also bouncing off these levels to higher levels, breaking above 30K, etc., then I think it's reasonable to think that Link could also see some higher price action. All right, so those are the things that I'm looking at for Link. So again, not financial advice, you should make of the data as you will, but I think it's important to keep things in perspective, to recognize that Link has actually been outperforming a number of altcoins by going sideways like this, that the 6-month outlook for Link remains bullish from our forecast model's perspective. And if we just look at the short-term risk profile for Link, a bounce in the near term does seem to make sense. Obviously, nothing is guaranteed. So to wrap up then, I just wanted to say again that the UDPI and other model data that we have is live at our website, claritydigital.io. Highly recommend you go and check that out. And then, of course, subscribe to the channel and follow us on Twitter. Put a lot of updates, better indicators, and more over there.